Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that affects thousands of children and the future of an entire city. School funding in Bridgeport, Connecticut. For years, a narrative has persisted that Bridgeport schools are overfunded and wasteful. But what if I told you that story is not just wrong, but dangerously misleading? We're here to set the record straight, using hard data and clear comparisons to show you the real picture. It's not a story of wasteful spending. It's a story of a severe and chronic revenue problem. Stick with me, because what you're about to see might just change how you think about public education in our state. So let's get right into the numbers. The perception is that Bridgeport spends a lot per student. On paper, the figure might seem high. In the 2022 to 2023 school year, the per-pupil expenditure was listed as $18,295. Now, you might hear that and think, that's a lot of money. Where is it all going? But this number is incredibly deceiving. It includes costs that the district has no control over, like health and pension benefits for retired teachers, which are managed by the state. When you subtract these mandated costs, the actual amount Bridgeport has to spend on its current students and things like teachers, books, and technology drops dramatically. The real, operational per-pupil spending is closer to $15,000. This is a crucial distinction that often gets lost in the public conversation. We're comparing apples to oranges, and it's creating a false narrative of abundance, where there is actually scarcity. It's like looking at someone's gross income without considering taxes, rent, and other essential bills. What's left for daily living is a very different number. That's the reality for Bridgeport's school budget. Now, let's put that number into perspective. How does Bridgeport's actual spending compare to its neighbors? Let's look at nearby affluent districts like Fairfield, Westport, or Darien. These districts regularly spend over $22,000, sometimes even closer to $25,000 per pupil. That's a gap of $7,000 to $10,000 per student per year. Think about that. Over a child's K-12 education, that's a difference of over $100,000 invested in their learning. This isn't just a small gap. It's a chasm. While wealthier districts can afford smaller class sizes, specialized programs, a wide array of extracurricular activities, and the latest educational technology, Bridgeport is struggling to cover the basics. The students in Bridgeport don't have fewer needs. In fact, they often have more. The district has a higher percentage of students living in poverty, students with disabilities, and English language learners. These students require more resources, more support, and more specialized staff to have the same shot. So where does the money come from? Or more accurately, given far less. Why isn't there enough of it? This isn't a level playing field. The core of the issue is Bridgeport's limited ability to raise local revenue. School funding in Connecticut heavily relies on local property taxes. City's ability to fund its schools is directly tied to the value of its taxable property. Bridgeport has one of the lowest grand lists that's the total assessed value of all taxable property in the state, especially for a city of its size. A significant portion of the city's property is non-taxable: hospitals, universities, and government buildings. While these institutions are vital to the community, they don't contribute to the property tax base that funds schools. So, while a town like Greenwich can raise enormous sums for its schools with a relatively low tax rate because of its high property values, Bridgeport is in the opposite position. To raise the same amount of money, Bridgeport would have to tax its residents at an impossibly high rate, placing an unbearable burden on a population that already faces significant economic challenges. The city is simply unable to generate the local share of funding that its students desperately need. This reliance on property taxes is the fundamental flaw. It creates a direct link between a community's wealth and the quality of its children's education. This system was challenged in the landmark court case, Horton v. Meskiel, decades ago, which was supposed to create a more equitable funding formula. And while the state does provide what's called an education cost sharing, or ECS grant, to help offset these local disparities, for Bridgeport, it has never been enough to close the gap. For years, the state has underfunded its own formula. So, Bridgeport receives less than it should from the state, and it's incapable of making up the difference locally. This is the revenue problem in a nutshell. It's not about mismanagement. It's a structural deficit baked into the very system we use to fund our schools. The city is caught in a trap. It can't raise enough money on its own. and the state aid designed to help has been insufficient. The result is a cycle of underfunding that has spanned generations. Now, I want you to see what this underfunding actually looks like. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It has real, tangible consequences for students and teachers every single day. We put together a short video to show you the reality inside Bridgeport schools. Please watch this. What you just saw isn't an exaggeration. It's the daily reality. It's crumbling buildings with leaking roofs and outdated HVAC systems that make classrooms too hot in the fall and too cold in the winter. Libraries without librarians, where books sit on shelves untouched because there's no one to manage the collection or help students. It's the absence of art and music programs that have been cut, robbing students of creative outlets that are proven to boost academic performance and emotional well-being. It's guidance counselors responsible for hundreds of students unable to provide the individual attention they need for college and career planning. It's dedicated teachers buying basic supplies like paper, pencils, and tissues out of their own pockets because the school budget has run dry. It's the technology gap, where students lack the reliable devices and internet access necessary to compete in the 21st century. This isn't about waste. This is about scarcity. This is what happens when a district is forced to make impossible choices. Do we fix the leaking roof or hire another reading specialist? We fund after-school programs or repair the heating system? These are choices no district should have to make. Every cut, every deferred maintenance project, every eliminated position directly impacts a child's opportunity to learn and to thrive.
Normont's narrative of wasteful spending is not only false, it is also incredibly harmful. It is truly a false narrative, easily disproven by the facts shown here. Bridgeport, Connecticut spends less on administration than Greenwich, and it spends more in the classroom, direct contradiction of Ned Lamont's assertions. Why would Ned Lamont lie about black and brown districts? Because he thinks we are stupid. We must be able to discern between perception and reality. If Ned Lamont is allowed to continue with this false narrative and pushing it through the media, we don't stand a chance, because Bridgeport approximately needs $40 additional million to maintain its current level of inadequate services for our black and brown children. I foresee maybe getting $10 million if we're lucky, if this narrative holds, but there's an election coming.
So, what is the path forward? The solution requires bold action at the state level. First, the state legislature must fully fund the education cost-sharing formula. No more excuses, no more delays. They must meet their constitutional obligation to provide an adequate and equitable education for every child, regardless of their zip code. Second, we need to fundamentally rethink how we fund education. The over-reliance on local property taxes is unsustainable and unjust. We need to explore alternative, more equitable funding mechanisms that don't tie a child's educational opportunities to the wealth of their community. This could involve increasing the state's share of funding, diversifying revenue sources, or weighting funding formulas more heavily to account for the real costs of educating students in poverty. Finally, we as citizens have a critical role to play. We need to become advocates. We need to educate ourselves and our neighbors. We need to contact our state representatives and senators. Tell them that funding Bridgeport schools is not just a local issue. It's a matter of statewide economic health and social justice. When the children in our largest city are left behind, the entire state suffers. The students of Bridgeport are bright, resilient, and full of potential. They deserve the same opportunities as any other child in Connecticut. They deserve safe, modern school buildings. They deserve a rich curriculum that includes arts, music, and technology. They deserve the support of librarians, counselors, and social workers. They deserve a fair chance to succeed. But for too long, they have been denied these basic resources because of a funding system that is fundamentally broken. It's time to stop blaming the victim. It's time to stop peddling the myth of wasteful spending and confront the reality of the revenue problem. Let's work together to build a future where every child in Bridgeport and across Connecticut has access to the high-quality education they deserve. It is our moral and economic imperative. Thank you for taking the time to understand this critical issue. Please share this video, talk about it, and let's turn this awareness into action. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the issues that matter. Together, we can make a difference.